All right, what's going on, boys and girls? So I'm gonna try not to get passionate about this particular topic, but I'm not lie, it's gonna be a little hard. So, as a lot of people know, I've talked about why I'm cautious about and a kind of a wait and see approach with how things shake out for Linux gaming as it comes to Microsoft buying Bethesda and ZeniMax Media as a whole. Well, short version, a lot of the doom and gloom sayers, those usually with the biggest voice that the community lets speak, unfortunately, say it's the end of the world, end of Linux gaming. Then I realized that a few of the dudes haven't talked about Linux gaming in a couple of years. So you can have an opinion. I think it just carries a little less weight. Just saying. Or then you can have the biggest ones talking about how, oh, I'm not going to push Linux gaming because this is the end of it. And all this other kind of stuff. Because their whole argument centers around id was one of the biggest supporters for freaking Vulkan. Yada, yada, yada. And how now that they're going to... Microsoft has Bethesda with Skyrim and all these other things, they're going to force feed DirectX down everybody's throat and yada, blah, 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 fucking blah. Will DirectX kill off Vulkan? No. One simple reason that is different this time around. PCs are not the dominant factor anymore. You're viewing the world through an old lens. They can force whatever they want out. Whether or not it's used is another story. Open, as much as I hate the term open standards, industry developed standards now are far more likely to be adopted than a one company solution force fed down people's throats. Most of the time. Not always. So there's the caveat part. But when you have these big people on YouTube that the community lets speak and talk about how, oh, this kills off Vulkan, this kills off Linux gaming, or I'm not going to push it anymore. Have you looked at the companies who actually back Vulkan? They have too much time, they have too much money, they have too much development time just to fucking drop it. Second thing, if you're looking at the industry standard for a long time was DirectX, DX12, 11, 10, 9, take all the way back to 1. That was the industry standard for a long time. Why? It has been the industry standard forever because that is the one thing that Microsoft pushed. And Microsoft was what? The dominant OS on PC compatible computers. Wow. Now let's look at changes in technology. These big boxes over here, these have given way to things like these. Lo and behold, Android and that kind of shit is OpenGL, ES, and Vulkan, and all the other stuff. Look at where we're at before you open your mouth. ARM supports this. NVIDIA supports this. AMD supports this. Broadcom, Imagination, Intel, Qualcomm, and VeriSilicon for drivers and hardware. Or do you want to talk about game engines that support it? Okay, let's talk game engines. You have Banshee. You have Cider 3D, Croteam, CryEngine, The Forge, did Intrinsic, Open Source, Torque, Unity, Unreal, UX 3D, and Zenko. Just to name a few. You know, you have Godot, and there's tons of other engines that support Vulkan. I am so tired of the biggest Linux people talking the doom and gloom and every goddamn other thing, and the community just giving them the platform to speak for everybody. No. Be cautious. Be concerned. That's totally fine. But this is not the fucking REM song of "It's the End of the World" as we know it. It's just about things, and a company is going to be changing. It doesn't change the underlying fact that this is an industry standard effort around OpenGL and making it better and basically rewriting from the ground up what OpenGL was. And that's a gross simplification of it, of course. I want to make that clear. But DirectX has 30 years of iterative design. So that's 30 years of game engines and game developers that are familiar with the ins and outs of DirectX. Vulkan, 5 years. Scope, scale, and perspective are a thing. The only thing that I can see a lot of the bigger voices in the community speaking out about this whole thing is, and the only thing they're scoping, and the only perspective they've had is from the one with their head shoved up their ass. Now, maybe if they keep it up there, they can talk in their echo chamber so everybody else can talk. And we can actually look at something relative for once, as opposed to reactionary.